Greetings. This is Dr. Della Welch again. Now what we're going to have today is a discussion of Ayn, A-Y-N, Rand, R-A-N-D. You may hear her name mispronounced as Anne Rand or On Rand, so beware of that. There are a lot of cartoons about her theory, which essentially said, I love myself, and that's all that matters. It's selfishness. Love yourself. She says in her book, The Virtue of Selfishness, the man who does not value himself cannot value anything or anyone. There's a joke about 3 elephants dancing and they're free marketers, and one says, 1 for me, 2 for me, all for us, and none for you. Another cartoon, the phone rings, and the little boy answers and said, no, my dad's not here. And they said, will you take a message? And the little boy says, what's in it for me? He's thinking of himself. And he says, people always assume that there's some kind of altruist, A-L-T-R-U-I-S-T, in each of us. But she was against that theory. It's often called the virtue of selfishness. When I taught this to my students, I discussed Rand and kept mentioning the last name, and they said, oh, we had no idea that it was a woman. We have so few women philosophers. And so she is a very famous philosopher. It's important to know her background. And even as a child, she rebelled against Russia and Russia's collectivism. At age 19, she decided she wanted to be an atheist. At age 21, she escaped the Soviet regime and came to America. She liked individualism and not collectivism. She's written very famous books. One is Atlas Shrugged, and she's very well known for the theory of objectivism. It's also called ego ethics. So these are some terms that you need to be aware of. When we look at some of the things concerning her in more detail, she was born in Russia in 1905. She was very bright, and she taught herself to be a fiction writer. She was in Russia at the time of the Russian Revolution. She objected to the communist concept because her father's pharmacy was taken over by the Russians, and she didn't like collectivism very much at all. So after this lecture, you should be able to define objectivism, ethical egoism, and I always ask my students, what is the main point of objectivism per Rand? A, self-interest. B, being centered on others. Certainly A is the answer with self-interest. So that's important to understand how she was so much into everyone working toward their own interests, everyone working toward their own career. And then looking at some of the terms here, there were 4 important motives for Rand. One was reason. Each human being thinks and must think in order to survive. The other was individuality. Thinking and reason are lodged in the singular person.